Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette. I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, so tonight we have something special for our sippers. It's instead of a typical episode, it's kind of our special early release episode. And we'll tell you about our experience and what we saw. But we got to go to, it's Regal Theaters that does it. They do a Mystery Monday night. And this last week, it was a horror genre. So I had never done this before. Like I had never done the mystery movie before. Had either of you?
I've
Yes.
never done it either.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I had no idea.
And it was so fun. Like clearly there are people that are regulars because when we first got to the theater, they were the people were still cleaning it. And so the moviegoers were kind of just waiting, for the employees to finish cleaning it. And so they were all standing outside waiting, and they were talking about how last week's movie was apparently atrocious. But they were excited for this one. And it was just a different crowd.
Yes.
It was so fun. Yeah.
It's really fun. So I have gone before. I've gone quite a few times, and it's $5. That's one thing we could mention. It's $5. Yeah. It's a movie. Regal will usually give the rating of the movie, so if it's like rated R or PG-13, and then the time is like plus or minus 5 to 25 minutes, I would say.
Okay.
They give you a general time because if they gave the specific time of the movie, you could easily look up what it is.
Right.
But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, you pay $5, show up and watch just a movie that hasn't been released yet. And yeah, sometimes they're trash because the point of it is a movie that they think is probably going to need a little bit of word of mouth to get it out. But Talk to Me, one of the movies that we did, was one of the mystery movies. I was very angry that I missed that one because I think I even went to the one before and the one after. So I was very mad about missing that one.
I bet.
So they get some cool movies, and I didn't get it for this one, but for other movies, sometimes they'll have a little director note or actor note that they'll show before the movie even starts, where it's hey, you're about to watch this movie,
cool,
blah, 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 and give you some info about it. So I feel that's kind of fun because it feels like you're getting an extra sneak peek.
Yeah.
So would recommend, not sponsored by Regal, but would recommend.
Yeah, but if you are sponsoring Regal, we are available for partnership.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Mystery Movie Monday.
So fun.
It was fun.
So fun. And I don't go to the movies very often anymore. And so when the previews were coming on, Laura and I were ooh, maybe we can guess the vibe based off the preview. But all of the commercials before the preview were all children's commercials.
Yes.
So it was all Disney, kids' toys, kids' food. So we were
wait, really?
Yeah.
Maybe this will be a younger.
Yeah, it was strange. But then
movie,
the previews were clearly adult horror.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So we were okay, maybe
the
not.
The commercials were very young.
Yeah, it was weird.
Very strange.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what commercials we had. I just remember the trailers, which were, I think, all horror. Yeah. So, it set the vibe.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a couple that we thought looked good. So maybe we'll have to add those into our queue.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a regular episode like us talking through the movie and our thoughts on it. Instead, we're going to give a no spoilers or minimal spoilers.
Minimal.
We won't ruin the end. Minimal spoilers and our take on the movie. And then we'll give you what we rated it as. But if you absolutely don't want any information on the movie, you should stop listening now.
Yeah,
so
definitely. We're trying our best.
But for those that want to stick around, let's just talk about what our first thoughts were when the movie came on. Because there's a scene before the name of the movie comes. So yeah let's talk about what our take was.
It took quite a while before the name of the movie and the topic of the movie was apparent. And that was honestly for me one of the best parts. It was so fun just going in completely blind, having no idea, and being like, what are we watching?
Right.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out where we hear kind of this, I think the screen was even still black, and we hear a news reporter talking about how there's been, news of ice storms following, ice storms that are kind of making the city that, not functioning properly. And that followed like an asteroid shower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, okay, we're watching an end of the world apocalyptic movie.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And then it cuts to this old woman knitting. And I immediately thought, oh, it's me.
I know that. I thought the same thing. I was like, is she knitting or crocheting?
She was knitting, not crocheting.
She was knitting. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And the old woman is she's hearing all of these creepy sounds in her walls. So she lives in an apartment in New York City, and she's hearing all these scary sounds. So she goes to the phone book and she finds the number for Frank's exterminator service.
And I loved the little picture, or it kind of gave Beetlejuice vibes.
It was, yeah.
That's what I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I love, because then he, shows up, and it's in this snow ice storm, and Frank drives up to the building, and just, the little logo Beetlejuice, like, exterminator thing was so cute.
I know.
So as he's kind of walking into the building, Frank is, to help Grandma with this sound in her walls, he notices some green goo coming from a vent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then I'm thinking, oh, it's like, I was like, wouldn't be the new Ghostbusters, right? Because I know
I almost, I had the same exact thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, well, wait a second. Like,
we have goo.
Right. Yeah.
Because it seemed to me like ghost goo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
very not normal goo.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, not human goo.
No. It was green, and I think he made some comment that it smelled really bad.
Yeah.
So Frank the exterminator goes into Grandma's house, and he's kind of like looking around to see, what the sound is in the wall. And he goes into this room with like creepy dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Doll houses. Again, it's like every type of horror.
I know. I was like, could it be something with like Annabelle? I was like, could it?
Oh.
I was like, could it be something with her? Like, yeah.
And then we see this like streak of blood going into a vent. Frank sees the streak of blood going into a vent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind, sippers, we still don't know what freaking movie we're watching.
Right.
No title screen so far. Nothing. We don't know the name of the movie.
Nope. And then inside of the vent, Frank sees a dead person, or someone dead or dying. I couldn't really tell. And then he's like freaking out. But then Frank gets like sucked into the vent.
Yep.
So, and now it seems like some sort of like monster killer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just get back to Grandma knitting again, clueless as to what's going on. But she still hears the sound, so she goes to call an exterminator. So Grandma has dementia.
Yeah.
And so she, doesn't remember kind of what's going on, but she's, happy with her knitting. So
she's having a good time.
Yeah. And it's like, oh no, there's a sound.
Yeah.
Better call the exterminator.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see it cuts to 4 days earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And we see like a little asteroid coming through the sky.
Yes.
Like this
it's a big asteroid at first, right?
Right.
And then it's like,
yes, because it gets smaller as it comes to Earth.
Small, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's very, very small by the time it crashes through. So 4 days before we had seen Frank, it crashes through the window of Grandma's house where she had like this doll room with like a doll house. And so like this little like rock like goes into the doll house. It goes in through Grandma's window first and then in through the doll house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see it like crack open
Yes.
Like an
It's
egg.
it's like Alien, right?
It is
Where
like
it's like the
Alien.
sticky goo. So it like it
Yes.
opens, but like looks very Alien-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And then something crawls out.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved this scene of the spider, and it appeared to be like a black widow is
Yeah, it looks
what it
like
looked
it.
like. Like it had the exact like, you
There's
know,
the black, like very I don't know how you describe it.
bulbous.
Very
Like it's a very
slick.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, very slick spider, and then a big black bulb thing with red,
Yeah.
which a very Black Widow-esque.
Mhm.
Right. But I just love the scene of her walking through the little dollhouse. Like she goes down the little
Yeah.
stairs, she goes over the little crib. Like I just
Yeah.
thought that was so cute. I was like, what is this movie?
She's
Like,
just investigating, yeah.
Also, I swear those dollhouses exist for horror movies.
yes,
Yeah.
Like,
they
does
do.
anyone own these dollhouses? Because
Only-
every horror movie does.
Only for horror.
Yeah.
Mhm. I want one so bad.
I know. I was gonna say, I
want
think
one
we should get
so
one. We can make little spooky sips themed.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make one. I mean, I've got the time. Maybe I'll just become like a dollhouse maker.
Yes.
Maybe
Maybe
that'll
we
be my
get
new hobby.
a
Mhm.
movie room and like a recording studio for us. And like
I'm here for all of this.
the
Yes.
room where I make our merch.
Yes.
Okay, I
Because
love this.
Sippers, we did have encounters with famous people over this episode because we went on their social media and commented on their post, and 2 of the actors liked our comment,
Mhm.
which made me feel
We've
like a
made it.
superstar.
I mean, yeah.
So, you guys were all here before we blew up, but here we go. We're
Get
on our
ready.
track to
Get ready,
viral
Sippers.
hood.
We won't
Yes.
forget our roots.
No, we won't.
don't
We
worry.
won't forget you all. We promise. Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, we see the little spider crawling around, and then we see what forms on the screen is the title of the movie, Sting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're watching a movie about a killer spider, everyone.
Yes.
And my thoughts were just like, okay, where's this gonna go? Like, I was
Yeah.
immediately intrigued, but
No,
also I like loved the vibe immediately. So I was so ready. Like,
Yeah.
I was so
No,
ready.
I really liked the opening scene because I feel like from the opening scene, yeah, there's that question of like, I know this is a horror movie. We
Mhm.
knew that. And it's like trying to find what style it is. And then once we get the scene with the exterminator getting killed, and I think we're supposed to know that was like a second exterminator, because when the
Right.
second guy gets there, across the street is another exterminator's van.
Mhm. Yeah.
So he's like, wait, you called in someone to do my work?
And didn't he see him
I think so.
when he
Yeah,
opened
I
the
think
vent? I think he saw the
that's who
other
was dead.
exterminator. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I feel like when that happened, and then you get, like grandma calling another exterminator, I was like, this is the setup.
Yeah.
There's a monster in grandma's room, and this is how she gets her victims, right?
That's what I
come
thought.
over, grandma moves on, calls other people. Like, I feel I kind of liked the misdirection of like, here's the setup, and it's like, and then the movie kind of shifts.
Weird.
It's,
Yeah.
The story is a little different from
Right.
what it originally looked like.
Yep. I
So
agree.
I liked it. I liked the beginning.
Yeah, I did too.
Mhm.
I did too. And I just liked how much and I don't know if it was intentional, but like the references to other
Oh,
horror
it had
movies.
to have been intentional.
Mhm.
Like this
Yeah.
one isn't giving anything away, but like we later meet the old lady's name was Helga. We later meet her sister, who's
Mhm.
just like
Wanda.
just this jerk of a landlord, but tall and thinner and makeup. And they very loosely super reminded me of the ants in James and the Giant Peach,
Oh,
which then made me think of the spider in that one. So I was like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I'm loving. I know it may not have been intentional, but
Yeah. No,
it was making me think of so many other movies.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And have either so it of course was making me think of Arachnophobia. Old school horror movie.
Oh, I haven't watched that
I've
because
never seen
I
it.
am very afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
So that's a no
Oh,
for
okay.
me.
Yeah. How was this one for you?
Yeah.
So- I feel like as soon as I realized what it was, I was like, oh, And then again, this isn't giving anything away because it's right at the beginning that we realize the spiders in the vents. But in our bedroom, directly on the wall next to our bed on the ceiling in the corner is like a pretty sizable vent. So I was like, I'm going to need like duct tape. I'm going to need to cover this up.
Yes.
To fall asleep tonight. So I feel like it was actually okay. It's one of those things where like the spider gets so big and is so much that it wasn't as scary. But if you are like super scared of spiders,
this might be rough.
No, this is about a big spider.
Because it was good. Like the effects were good. Like it looks like a creepy spider. Like
it sure did.
I feel like they did a good job of not showing it too much.
Yes.
Right.
Like all the silhouettes. I loved that. I thought that was really good.
And like a couple of times, and this doesn't give away too much of the plot, but like a couple of times characters in the movie would get scared because you'd see what you think is a spider, but it's a shadow of a hanging plant with leaves and stuff. And so I feel like when movies do things like that, like it totally gets into your brain for later. Like I had been drinking Licorice on the way into the theater, but I didn't bring it in. So I just left it in my car, but it still had some water in it. So then when I got back at the end of the theater, I was thirsty. And so I wanted to take a drink, but I was like, oh my God, is there a spider in here?
Yeah.
Like it freaked me out because it was open, right?
Okay. I just very super side note. I have never been about the Stanley craze. I myself have a hydro flask, and here's why. Because I have seen one too many of those videos where someone goes to drink out of their Stanley and in their straw is a spider.
Absolutely not.
So I love my hydro flask because you put the straw down.
You close.
You tuck him in.
You put him away.
Yeah.
And I'm not even terrified of spiders, but I'm apparently just terrified of them in straws.
Yeah.
So
closing lids always and open.
Yeah.
But so Arachnophobia is a really old school movie, and I actually think that may have been my very first scary movie.
Oh,
okay.
When I've tried to think of it before, I haven't really been able to place what it was. But when I think about the movie Arachnophobia, I watched it at a friend's house at a sleepover, scared the bejeebus out of me for like months and months. Like, and then I rewatched it a few years ago, and like, it's so cheesy.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's not scary now.
Right.
Still something like that, like just killer spiders, like crawling out and just like, you don't see them until they're like biting you or in you or like,
it just gives you that like heebie-jeebies. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that's interesting that you mentioned that, because one thing I feel like as soon as I came out of the movie, just like trying to think of my thoughts, I feel like it had like a distinct, like nostalgic feeling.
Yes.
That I couldn't quite put my finger on, but it felt like something that I would have watched as a kid, you know? Like,
that is literally exactly what I told Laura.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like to a T when we were walking out. That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
Well, and I think just speaking in generals of the movie, there's connections there. So the movie there's a family in it, and in the family there's a maybe, what would you say, 13-year-old girl?
I would say like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
She was pretty young.
11 to 13.
Yeah, like a preteen, early teen.
Yeah, definitely.
And she has an idea for comic books. And so a lot of this movie kind of related to her comic and her comic book characters that she and her stepdad create. And I think that was part of it. Like that relationship of, you know, the young girl and the comics, I think that made it all just feel really nostalgic.
It did. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the style of the movie, I do think it matched kind of reading a comic book.
That's what I thought too, especially towards the end.
Yes.
I feel like it really felt reminiscent of a comic book.
Yeah. Which I actually really enjoyed. I liked, we've talked about some of the like ridiculous characters, you know, like the landlord, aunt and stuff. The characters were in a way overdone. I think you could argue that. But I feel like that was intentional, because that's almost what a character in like a comic book would be. You know, they're like dramatic versions of themselves, and I think a fun way.
Yes. And I think that it was done in such a way that it was really well done. So it didn't feel cheap or cheesy. Like it felt like a retelling of a story.
Yeah. Did you guys? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did feel like there was a lot of overly cheesy family moments, though. For me, it took me a little bit out of it sometimes because the characters themselves and in the story in general, I think they did a pretty good job. But sometimes, like the little family moments, I was like, this is just too much cheese.
There were definitely there was definitely a scene that was supposed to be a more like serious family moment that in my theater, at least, people kind of started laughing because it was a bit overdone. It was a bit much. Okay, I did want to ask you guys, as someone who's been to a lot of these Mystery Movie Monday things, a lot of things that happen is, or one thing that happens a lot is because, you know, it's a mystery movie, a lot of people leave once they realize what the movie is. It just happens. No one left in mine. Did anybody leave in yours?
No.
Not that I saw.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
I did tell Laura, and I was like, it didn't ruin it for me. But the guy next to me, because it was packed, like our theater was a huge IMAX theater and it was full. Like, but the guy.
Why was this in an IMAX theater? Because we were also in an IMAX theater.
I know.
The sound wasn't that amazing. Like it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Dune is still out. You're telling me you had no other purpose for these IMAX theaters?
I know.
Because I saw Dune on IMAX. That thing was intense.
Yeah. But the guy that was sitting right next to me was eating sunflower seeds, and he had a cup, and he was just like spitting in his cup his seeds out, and I was like, that is just such a weird thing to do in a theater.
It's distracting.
It's an odd decision.
Yeah. Like, why? Well, that was weird.
That was one thing I noticed about all the moviegoers this time is like it definitely was a different style of moviegoer. Like lots of people in PJs and blankies, which is all great, but like lots of people like smuggling in Burger King and sunflower seeds and full family size bags of chips, and I was like,
like you can just tell this is they're at home.
They're at home.
Movies. They're at home at the movies.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. Exactly. Like this is something that they do. It's not like a rare thing. This is their thing that they do all the time.
Yeah.
They get comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just kind of a summary of the movie, but we've got the young girl, she's like a preteen, and she finds the spider. And she houses it in a mason jar, and she feeds it like cockroaches because there's cockroaches in their apartment building. And so it's kind of like her pet, and that's kind of how it starts. And we know very quickly that something is different about this spider. Like it's able to mimic whistles back to her, and it also gets big fast. Like it doubles in size the same day. So we know, okay, there's something going on. And like the very first night, the spider is able to open the jar and sneak out and then come back. So we're like, okay, we know that's what this is. Like, there's something up with the spider. So
I loved the little whistle.
I loved the feeding whistle.
That was so fun.
The feeding whistle was so cute.
I know.
It was a cute little pet.
I know it was. Yeah. It really was.
So clearly you're going to realize, you know, that this ends up being a killer spider, and it attacks, you know, animals and people. So one of its first victims, when this victim is discovered, there's a line. So what the spider in this case did was kind of go into the victim and kind of like eat it from the inside out, and it created this really graphic
corpse. Yeah.
And so when they go to discover it, they like end up, I think, calling Frank, the exterminator, back.
Yeah, they had called him.
And then his quote when seeing the corpse was, "It looks like it tried to have sex with a blender." Which is so horrible,
but it's exactly what it looks like. I loved Frank.
I feel like
Frank was great.
This is a good time to mention too. Like this movie, I think we've all mentioned is like it's fun, big killer spider, gave nostalgic vibes. If you don't like gore,
right,
this movie is fun, but it's probably not for you because
it is graphic.
A few scenes in there where I had to hold up the popcorn bucket.
Yeah. No, it is graphic. I mean, even just the nest that she makes looks so like creepy. That it's a graphic movie.
And it got me with some of the scenes. There's at one point the spider kind of incapacitates a victim and crawls into their mouth, and I was couldn't handle it.
I was losing it.
I normally am okay with like gore and stuff, but I was like not.
And the sound effects were intense.
No, if you're afraid of spiders, just don't go.
Yeah, just skip this one. Yeah, just skip this one.
Or as another quote from one of the characters when he discovered some of the gruesomeness of the spider, fucking fuck.
Yeah. I know, I loved that.
Oh, there's just some good lines.
No, there are some really good lines. And the dynamics are good with the people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we could talk about maybe the not so good in this movie. So, I wouldn't say it was the best movie ever.
Right.
I think for me, the main thing is we've already mentioned there's a little girl, right? And this is kind of like her pet spider. Her use of social media.
Right.
It's like, okay, this girl would be on TikTok, number one.
I know.
And I don't even remember what it was that she's like posting on Instagram, but it was like, I'm sorry, children don't talk like that.
No.
Right.
That's
I thought the same
thing.
They
would like talk, or like at one point, I think she calls her dad like a lame-o.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not something
that hasn't been used
her age would say
since the 90s. Right.
I think that was one thing. So Matt, my husband, came and watched this with me, and when we were talking about it after, it was just talking about that. It was like, I know for 100% this movie was written by either an elder millennial or a young Gen Xer. I'm willing to bet so much money on it, just based off of the way that they wrote the child, where it's like, I was like, that's how they think children act.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so funny you say that, because I actually even wrote down as soon as the movie ended, was this actually written by a 13-year-old girl? Because it seemed to me like I totally see your point though. The way that the girl herself was portrayed, definitely out of touch adult, doesn't realize how kids are. Yeah. But kind of then the way the storyline kind of ended up going, the theme in general, I was like, I think this was actually written by a 13-year-old girl. And great job.
It's funny because before she did that, before she posted, I was like, oh wait, maybe this actually just takes place like in the 90s, because the opening character used a phone book to call an exterminator. And I was like, I don't even think they don't make those anymore, do they?
I think they stopped.
Yeah, like I don't. So at first, and just the way that the apartment buildings were, like the vibe, I was like, oh, okay, it's like a 90s.
It did feel like it.
And so it was only because,
that is part of what I liked, is that like nostalgic feeling. It felt like something I would have watched,
right?
However many years ago.
Totally. Yeah.
I think one thing that I noted that again pulled me out of it a little was that sometimes the actors, especially the stepdad Ethan, sometimes his accent totally just came out.
Right.
Where
I was like, why don't they just make it Australian?
Just make him make him not have an American accent. Make him have Australian or whatever accent he has.
Be Australian, like.
But why pretend that he's American just to then have sometimes his accent is like, what just happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was a scene at the end where I was like, wait, what does he sound like?
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So I guess we don't probably know many fun facts, but I was just wondering if the movie was filmed in Australia. We probably
I
don't
don't know, but I almost assumed it was.
Yeah, because especially like we stayed for the credits and so many of them were like Australian things,
yeah.
like places and things. So I wouldn't have been surprised if it was.
But yeah, I mean, I think those are kind of my big critiques of it, of the movie.
Okay, the country of origin is Australia.
Okay.
So,
I mean, because they say they're in New York City. Like they say that they're in, it was either Brooklyn or the Bronx or something. Like,
but some of the doorknobs were a little high.
Yes, that's what I noted too. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh.
That should have been my first clue.
Yes.
We learned that
I
in
think it's our Christmas, one of the Christmas,
our Christmas one
episode.
Yes.
Oh, the Better Watch Out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, for me, like, I don't know if I was just in the right place at the right time, but like, I don't really have any critiques. Yeah. Like, it was cheesy at the end, but actually, for me, that like was in line with the movie. So for me, it worked. Like, I think I tried to just appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't this ultra serious.
Yeah. You know? I like that it wasn't trying too hard. It was one of those where it's like, okay, this is the world that you're living in. To kind of jump all the way back to the beginning, it's like there was an asteroid. The asteroid is actually a spider, and it's like, okay, that's it. That's cool. That's all the setup you need. This is where the spider comes from. I do kind of like when movies are just like, that's all the explanation we're going to give you because that's all the explanation you need.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe we could talk about like some things we really did like. So like, I loved the way that it was filmed and how the whole movie took place in one apartment building. And I love how it kind of zoomed in from like room to room within each apartment or different floors and like in and out of windows. I love that it was all just, most of the people that we met in the apartment are somehow related or know each other. But even if they're not, they know each other pretty well. And I just love how it was just all of their experience in the apartment.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah, my only one thought was like, those are huge air ducts.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, there's no way. Like, that was my only...
Like 2-3 feet tall.
Unrealistic moment.
3 feet wide.
Yeah, because they just show people just crawl through them with ease. Like, there's no problem.
Right. Yeah, so...
You just pop off the little cover and that's it. Any regular-sized adult can crawl through it.
Yes. I don't think this gives away any spoilers, but I like that they set it up for a sequel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I like when movies, like, especially like horror movies that are fun. I like when they do that because I'm like, ooh, okay. Yeah.
Even if it never becomes a sequel, I just like that it's showing the scariness and the horror.
It's open-ended. Exactly.
It might continue in this universe. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also really liked, we kind of were talking about the old ladies, like the grandma and her sister, the aunt. And I loved that the one kind of meaner of the two, just one night, it's a night when all the stuff goes down, she just gets plastered. And so she's faced with this horrific situation of, this like killer spider. And her quote is like, I'm much too drunk for this.
Yes, I loved that.
I was like, oh, that's me and Brianna and Yvette when we're older.
It totally is. I'm much too drunk for this.
We're living in our commune and a killer spider comes. Like, we're too drunk for this.
Yeah, get out of here, spider.
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
There were some really good laughable moments, I thought.
There were.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe this is a good time to talk about what we are sipping on for tonight. Because although it's a special short episode, we had to do a pairing.
We have to.
All right. So tonight we are sipping on the Spider's Kiss cocktail. This one's pretty easy to put together. You'll need 2.5 ounces of cranberry juice, a splash of grenadine, depending on how sweet you want it, 2 ounces of vodka. And then if you want to make it extra spooky, you can get some licorice to create little legs sticking out of your cocktail. So would recommend, I mean, it's pretty basic cranberry vodka, but a little sweeter with the grenadine. But I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with vodka cranberry.
No.
It tends to be like when I go to a bar and I'm overwhelmed with choices and I don't know what to order, I call it it's the Lara, and it's just vodka cranberry with a splash of orange juice. Like you can't go wrong with that. Like it's simple.
No.
It's like they always have it.
Yep.
Oh, my go-to, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. It's just vodka soda. Like vodka soda. That'll buy me
Mine's
time.
usually just a gin and tonic because that's usually pretty easy to make, like most places.
Yeah.
Like if they can't make a gin and tonic, I probably don't belong at that bar. Like
Fair.
Yep.
Okay, so I think though, Laura, you were inspired while we were watching this to do a psych segment on a particular theme.
Yes.
So what do we have tonight?
Yeah, are we ready to get into that? Because
I think so.
Our thoughts on the movie without spoiling. So
right, and just remember, she is not a real doctor, but that's okay because these are not real people or real spiders
or alien spiders,
which is what I keep reminding myself before I go to bed at night.
It is not real.
Yvette, I'm so sorry for my psych tonight because it's probably not going to be one that you will enjoy.
Oh God.
We're talking about
if these are spider fun facts, I'm leaving.
Uh-oh. You better go.
Well, we are going to talk about arachnophobia exclusively.
That's okay.
Okay.
So I know that if we ever watch the movie Arachnophobia, we'll have to like revisit this because at some point maybe we should do that movie because it's a classic.
Oh yeah.
But I thought we should talk about arachnophobia.
Oh, 100%.
So arachnophobia is essentially the irrational fear of spiders or other arachnids such as scorpions and ticks.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I thought it was just spiders.
Yeah. Arachnids. I didn't know a tick was an arachnid.
I didn't either.
I'm not really typically afraid of spiders, but ticks scare the hell out of me because those things get in you and you don't know where they are.
Yeah.
They just burrow.
And you can get, that's Lyme disease, right? That you can get from ticks.
Just super scary. Yes.
Yeah, I'm scared of spiders. I don't like spiders.
So having a fear of spiders, and we'll get into this pretty quickly in our psych, it does have a reason and a evolutionary basis for it. And it is good having a fear of spiders. But when it becomes a phobia, it's where your fear does not match the level of the actual threat. So that would be something like you see a little spider, it's not venomous, it doesn't bite you, and you act like it is the end of the world. Like it's going to hurt you, it's going to destroy your life, like you can't breathe, you can't move on. So like that's when it becomes a phobia.
Hey, I didn't realize I was going to be attacked in today's episode.
So really this title of the psych is actually diagnosing Yvette.
Yeah, this is a clinical setting. We are officially diagnosing her. Yes.
So I don't know that this is true, but I would kind of consider arachnophobia a bit of a subset of the more general entomophobia, which is in general the fear of insects. I don't know, because I think spiders are a type of insect, so I feel like that's more general, and then arachnophobia is more specific.
That makes sense.
I have to say, I don't have a fear of most insects.
Yeah, just the spiders.
Like if I see an insect in the house, I don't like. No, I mean that depends what it is. Oh,
centipedes.
Centipedes,
straight to hell.
We grew up in Rochester, New York, and we had centipedes like nobody's business. And what are they called when they're even bigger? What is it? The other one?
The millipedes?
Even bigger.
Don't they? Isn't there one that's bigger?
Millipedes are less
smaller.
So centipedes can like vary very drastically in size. There's like the giant ones, and then there's like smaller ones. But millipedes, I think, are actually less scary.
Okay,
you know
what's
once you get that many.
Oh
legs,
yeah, they're just like
they're just little.
To me, the thing that's even scarier than the centipedes is the earworms.
Yeah,
like those things freak me out.
And we had those in New Hampshire.
Yeah, so no, we had those also in Rochester. Those sometimes I see them.
Like earwigs? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh wait, what did I say? Earworm?
You say yeah.
Oh, I imagined the earwigs.
It's the same thing.
Earwigs.
Yeah, the same thing.
Got you. We understood.
Okay, so yeah, actually, maybe I don't love insects. I like ladybugs, and I like bees. Actually, I'm not afraid of bees. So,
because bees are good. Bees.
Okay, so let's talk about the causes of arachnophobia. Let's talk about the causes of your predicament.
Disorder.
So as I mentioned, there is an evolutionary reason. So there is a normal it's a normal instinct to fear spiders. So like going way back to cave people, it's safer if you kind of build your shelter in a cave that doesn't have venomous spiders. And so you're going to survive more than the person that's not afraid of a spider. The cave person builds their camp there. They get bit back when, there wasn't hospitals or treatment.
Right. You just
Those
die.
people that didn't have the fear of spiders, they're going to die. Whereas the people that have the fear of spiders are going to survive.
Smart.
Yes. So it makes sense, right? And what's also really interesting is this kind of evolutionary fear we have of spiders. It's kind of hardwired in our brains. So humans have the ability to detect spiders over other things. So like, for example, there was a study where there was a few spiders in like pictures filled with either flowers or mushrooms or something, and people can quickly detect the spiders. So it's like our brains know, I need to make sure to pay attention to that.
Danger.
Versus the other way around, if it's like a picture full of spiders and then there's like a couple of mushrooms or flowers, people have a harder time finding those. Like our brains are hardwired to detect and pick up on that danger of spiders.
Okay, I swear mine is elevated. It's a known thing in my family. You can ask Matt. He will say this is true. If there is a spider, I will sense it. I will point it out immediately.
Your spidey
I know
sense.
when it's in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, how did you even see that? It's like, I know. It's like, you thought that was dust? It's a spider. Please go kill it.
Maybe that's why you have more of a phobia, is because you're just more
Always
able to
spotting
detect.
them.
Yeah.
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 Because maybe you actually have such a strong bond with spiders that they seek you
Yes.
out because you're one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they respect you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're afraid of them and they're just trying to love
I'm like,
you.
kill it. Their strategy's not working.
See, I'm one, unless the spider is somewhere where really like it cannot be in the home, I typically will try to catch it and then just let it outside.
I have never tried to save a spider.
No, see, I save them. Spiders can be really good. They kill all the bad bugs. Like they eat mosquitoes.
do.
Mosquitoes are awful.
Mm-hmm.
So spiders are good.
I won't kill a spider outside. That's their home. But if it's inside,
they're on your territory. Yeah.
That's my home.
Really creepy looking and like in my bedroom or something. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I used to really like ants and I would actually like bring them inside.
Brianna, it was your fault.
I know, I'm sorry. I like
now
ants.
growing up, I know why we had so many ants.
Yeah, it was me. It was me.
Oh,
It
all makes sense now.
I really liked them. So if I have an ant in the house, I'll save that. Or I'll just go and put it on one of my house plants.
No, I kill those.
Here you go, little buddy.
No, those don't, yeah.
And I like roly-polies.
Oh, well, those are cute.
Those are cute.
Yeah.
For those of us listening from places that don't call those bugs roly-polies, they might also be called potato bugs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or there's another
term.
I can't remember what it is. Okay. Mm-hmm. So back to arachnophobia.
Mm-hmm.
There are also some cultural reasons. So there are some cultures, like for example, some cultures that eat spiders regularly as part of their diet. They have less societal fear of spiders because it's something for them to eat. Like,
is that seriously a thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think Papua New Guinea is a big one where they eat spiders, and some other cultures and places. But so yeah, that's people eat spiders.
Okay.
Yeah. Another cause of arachnophobia, and this was the part that was just like, I just love the psychology of all of this stuff. Conditioned fear. So there's one study that shows here's how you get conditioned fear. There's a neutral stimulus, right? So there's a spider, which before you know what a spider is, it's neutral, right? It means nothing to you. But if it's then paired with something scary, like you see that spider and then you get a bite and it hurts, then now you know, okay, spider associated with hurt. Spiders are bad. I'm going to be afraid of spiders. Mm-hmm. So spiders that are when you learn a fear through conditioning with spiders, that is a lot more resistant and permanent than any other type of conditioned fear. So say I'm trying to think of another good example of it, but the only one I can think of is kind of the classic psychology example of where they kind of tortured this baby, where they showed the baby a little white bunny. Oh, have I talked about this on the podcast before?
I don't think so.
I don't know if you have. It's a pretty famous,
right. I don't think you have though.
I think the baby. I should have looked this up before I'm talking about it, but if I'm wrong,
Albert.
Yeah, I think the baby's name is Albert.
Yeah.
And so little baby Albert, they show him this white bunny, and he's like, "Oh, it's a cute bunny," and baby likes the bunny. But then, so baby Albert has no fear of the bunny. But then every time the bunny enters the room, they like do this really big loud bang or big loud noise that scares the baby. And so pretty soon the baby learns pretty quickly, as soon as he sees the bunny, there's going to be something scary. But then suddenly what starts to happen is that fear transfers from just bunny means the sound is going to be scary to now Albert's just afraid of the bunny, like has a fear of bunnies.
So sad.
It's so sad.
It's really
Did
sad.
they ever like follow up with this baby? Okay?
I think so. I think he's all right.
Where's little Albert now?
Where are you, buddy?
I mean, this was a long time ago, so I think he's okay now. But you can't do stuff like that anymore. It would not be approved by the IRB.
No,
the good old days.
Yeah, right. So, but something like that could be unlearned. Like you could eventually do some. We'll talk about some therapy for arachnophobia later, but you could do some therapy and kind of unlearn that fear. But when it's specifically like snakes and spiders, once you've learned that fear, that is really hard to undo, even through therapy. It's one of the hardest ones to kind of get over. Another way you can get arachnophobia is if you have a trauma event with a spider.
Okay.
So if a spider bites you and hurts you, or someone you know. Or if you have, if you learn it through like your family, like if your family is afraid of spiders, you might learn that, or like people you know. Mm-hmm. Or if you have like a personal history with like anxiety. Things like that.
I thought you were going to say with like a particular spider.
With a particular spider.
Like you and this spider have fucking beef.
This one spider, you know?
One son of a bitch.
He never bit me, but man, I know he hated me.
If I see that guy again.
Got that long personal history with that spider. So Yvette, I'm wondering, like, what do you think is the cause of your arachnophobia?
Okay, now I'm wondering if I have seen the movie Arachnophobia, because I think one of the first things that made me afraid of spiders is I remember watching a movie, Too Young, where there was a shower scene.
Yes, that's arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I saw that. And then also, I mean, I've never really liked a ton of bugs. I'm one of those where it's like, I don't love bugs in general, but spiders, extra spooky. Yeah. And I think maybe I watched Arachnophobia too young.
Yeah, I'd call that
it really stuck with me.
I'd call that a trauma event. You've got a little bit of that evolutionary, base, and then that trauma event of arachnophobia is what caused it, I think.
Yeah.
So symptoms of arachnophobia. You can tell us which of these you get, Yvette. So panic attacks. That would be things like sweating and shaking, tightness in your chest, trouble breathing, feeling like you're choking, upset stomach, dry mouth, crying, tantrums.
I definitely get like anxious. Like I definitely remember like growing up, like if I saw a spider in my room, because obviously I wouldn't kill it. That would be crazy. Well, right. I mean, I could never. But if I like saw one in my room, I would go get someone who could kill the spider. And they'd come back in. It's like, oh, I don't see a spider. It's like, okay, then we will empty the room.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, let's fucking go. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. I will search every corner until we find and kill it, or I will lock the door because spiders can't crawl under doors apparently.
No.
They don't know how to use keys.
Yeah. Obviously.
Okay, because so what would make it move from kind of just a fear or an intense fear to phobia would be if it does stop you from doing what you want, like if it's debilitating. Sometimes it will consume your thoughts and limit your ability to work effectively. It could put a strain on your relationships. It can reduce your self-esteem. So it can have, some pretty intense effects if it's not, dealt with.
Yeah. It definitely sits in there. Like if I know there's a spider that hasn't been killed, it sits in my thoughts of like, I need to know where it is. I know it's in here. That anxiety is definitely there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what typically will trigger arachnophobia. And I'm just like saying all this, like hopefully it's not triggering you. So one would be the sight of spiders. And this could be anything from you see a real spider or you see a picture of spider. It could be as simple as you see a cartoon of a spider. People that with different intensities of the phobia could be triggered by different levels of a sight of a spider.
I'm definitely like, it has to be a real spider.
A real
I
spider.
can see a picture of a spider. One thing that helped me a lot is in our house back in Utah, we had jumping spiders, which sounds scary. I know. You're like, that sounds awful, right? No, they are the cutest spiders you've ever seen. Like they're the tiniest thing. So like they can't bite you. And I think that helped where it was like, I know the spider can't hurt me.
Yeah, they're friends.
They're so tiny and so fuzzy and so cute. And they just do little jumps. And there was one that lived in my bedroom window. And I would say hi to it every day. Because it was, the window to like get to my bathroom. And it just kind of like hung out and it had like a little web and it would do its little jumps. And I think that helped me a lot. I think getting exposed to one tiny spider that was really cute. Because if you look up pictures, they're just these little cute little babies.
So cute.
It's like your own Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. So I did have kind of a moment with a little jumping spider. So I feel like I'm less, I'm definitely like pictures won't do it, but like a big scary spider, if I see it in real life, will still kind of kick off that anxiety.
They are so cute.
No, jumping spiders are cute.
Getting a pet jumping spider. If you have a fear of spiders,
absolutely
can handle that.
That one's cross-eyed.
Yeah,
a lot of them are cross-eyed.
Yeah,
a lot of them do look cross-eyed. They're so cute. So actually, what you did, we'll talk about in just a second as a pretty common and effective treatment for phobias.
Yeah. Exposure?
Yeah. So some other triggers could be just even anything associated with a spider, like just seeing a web, even if you know there's no spider in there, sometimes that can trigger the phobia. Even sometimes just talking about spiders can trigger that. And really any senses. So like if you feel the spider web, if you feel like you could smell it, like I don't know what spiders smell like, but anything that like just reminds you of it could trigger it. So, according to the internets, about 3 to 15% of the population has arachnophobia.
I'm surprised that's it.
Yeah,
that's a good number.
It's a pretty high number when you think of it as not just a fear of spiders, but the phobia.
Yeah, okay,
that's pretty high. 3 to 15%.
Like fear of spiders, I imagine is like a lot, but
right, right.
And it is more common in females than males.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's talk about some treatment. So the first would be, it's called systematic desensitization or exposure therapy. So this is commonly done in a combination of teaching relaxation techniques. So I've actually done this with some of the people I've worked with before, where there's something that they have a fear of. And first, what you do is you teach a relaxation technique that helps the person, and it's shown to be effective for the person. And then you do progressively closer to the real phobia type of exposure. Like first you say, okay, practice like, let's say it's breathing technique that works for the person. Practice that breathing technique. And then now I'm just going to say the word spider. And if that creates a big reaction, then you just practice that coping skill until they get calm again. And then you can do that until pretty much now you can say the word spider, not an effect. And then maybe you show a picture of a spider. And then that reaction gets bigger again. And then you practice that until they can now see a picture of a spider and not freak out. And then it could be like there's a spider in 2 rooms away, and now there's a spider in the corner of the room, and now there's a spider on the table next to you. Things like that. Like you just keep doing that with those relaxation techniques until they might not ever be okay with spiders, but maybe they can live a functional life with the phobia. Another one, which is definitely not like as common or kind, but it is something I learned about. That's called flooding therapy.
No.
And so that
just make you eat a spider.
Oh god, yeah, fear factor.
Yeah, the patient is exposed directly and pretty abruptly to like the spider or whatever fear-inducing stimuli you have, while at the same time then you're supposed to just use those relaxation techniques. But I think that could put someone into such a state of panic that it might actually backfire and
like be traumatized
and then be like afraid of that relaxation technique because now that's the thing that's associated with the spider. I don't know that flooding is so much a good idea.
Yeah. If someone was just like, oh, there's 1,000 tarantulas in this room. Sorry. Right. I think I would just cry. Right. I don't think I'd get over my fear.
Mm-mm.
But maybe eventually, like what comes to mind for me is the Indiana Jones, is it the Raiders of the Lost Ark? Whatever one where Harrison Ford is afraid of snakes and he falls into the pit where there's all those snakes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Eventually he is able to function. Whereas before snakes are so debilitating, he can't move. But eventually he has to because they're there. There's nothing else he can do about it. So he's just got to get over it. Mm-hmm. So maybe it works. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another one, which is probably more like the thing that I would tend to do with a patient is, cognitive behavior therapy or CBT. And that can involve teaching practical ways of dealing with the phobia. So you can kind of challenge some faulty thinking. Like if a person's so afraid of spiders, they know that every spider is going to kill them. And you can kind of challenge that. Well, how many times have, you've been bitten by a spider? Or how many people do you know who've died from a spider? Things like that. You kind of challenge that. And then you just do some like problem solving and identifying the reasons behind the phobia. So there's hope for you, Yvette. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, which one does adopting a tiny jumping spider until you makes you less afraid of other spiders?
I think that's the systematic desensitization. I think you were able to kind of be near a spider that was less threatening until all of a sudden you're like, okay, now this is not so bad. So just get more of those.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're so cute.
They're so
10 would recommend. I follow, there's like a TikTok account of a spider, of a little jumping spider whose like name I'm forgetting right now. But she does like little voices for it. So he's like acting out little things and like talking as if she's the spider.
I love it.
I think you're already healing yourself.
I am. And it's thanks to the jumping spider. I don't think if I saw like a black widow, for example, I probably wouldn't sleep for a few days.
Yeah.
But the jumping spider is like, okay, I know there's little cute ones out there.
Mm-hmm. We went on my husband and I went on a hike like 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3 years ago. And just, we go on hikes in Utah all the time. And we've never seen this before. Giant freaking tarantula, the size of my hand. Like, I did not know those were here. It was so scary, but it was actually really cute.
I think like the worst moment with me was a spider because we lived in Maine and that house was like in really rough shape. So there were like a ton of bugs. Like you would like take a bath and like you would look down in your bath water and there was just a bunch of bugs in there with you. Like it was
That's awful.
But I just remember one time I have long hair and I did the towel flip.
No.
And on the towel facing me was a giant spider.
Oh,
that was like my worst. I hated that house.
I'm feeling itchy as you
know.
Don't go to Maine.
That's don't go to Maine.
This is why I can't go to Australia.
I
know.
Never.
I know they're there. Honestly, like Brianna, when you told us that you found a black widow in your house, like I had to do some breathing exercises before going to your house again.
Yeah.
Like just knowing that was possible.
We hired an exterminator and they did a very good job. We've never had them since. So, I
had to take a couple deep breaths.
I know. I'm sorry. Back. I didn't know.
So I'm trying to think like if I have any like true phobias. Oh, I do have one. So, okay, so we know Yvette's is spiders. Mine is I have an irrational fear of my appendix bursting.
Oh,
just talking about this.
We were just talking about this. So, I know where it comes from. It does come from a trauma event. My grandmother told the story.
It comes from trauma.
Do we want to say this on the podcast?
Yes.
It's fine. So my grandma, I think she was trying, I don't know if I had maybe told a lie. I don't really know the reason why, but she, I think, was trying to teach me a lesson. So she was doing what essentially is like the boy who cried wolf type of story. But here's how the story goes.
Oh God.
There was a little boy, and for some reason I feel like she was telling me he lived in a lighthouse. But there was this little boy, and he didn't like to go to school. So he would tell his parents that his stomach hurt, and so they let him stay home. And then the next day, again, he had, or like a week later, he had a test. And so he said his stomach hurt. So his parents let him stay home. But that kept happening. So then they stopped believing him. So one day before school, his stomach really hurt. He told his parents, my stomach really hurts. And they're like, nope, you've said that too many times. You have to go to school anyway. And he kept trying to tell them that it hurt, but they kept saying, nope, you have to go to school. So because they like lived in a lighthouse or far away or something, they had to drive him to school. On the drive to school, this is how my grandma tells this story. On the drive to school, he got so sick that he was just, writhing in pain, and he died. He died on the way to school because his appendix burst because his parents didn't believe him because he had lied about it so many times.
And then he died.
And then he died.
How old were you when you heard the story, if you don't mind me asking?
I was still living in Utah, so I was probably 5 or 6.
Oh.
And since then, I have had an irrational fear that my appendix is going to burst and I'm just going to die.
I mean, yeah, like, why do we even have it?
Well, no, yeah. It's so funny. I had to get my gallbladder taken out when I was younger, and they just took my appendix while they were in there. Because they were like, there's literally no reason to not. So they just like removed it with the gallbladder. Because they were like, that way we'll never have to like worry. And I was like, I love this. Laura was so jealous.
Yeah, I was going to say, Laura, were you so jealous?
I was so jealous. Here's the thing, like, she's got all of these medical concerns, and having your gallbladder removed is a terrible thing to happen, and it sucks and it's awful. And I was like, you lucky bitch.
You're so lucky.
Because they won't let me just electively, like, I could electively go and like augment my body and have surgery for that, but I just can't just go in and be like, just remove it. Just remove my appendix, please.
Like, I will pay you.
I'll pay you. That's my cosmetic surgery, is removing.
You remember the movie we watched, American Mary?
Yes.
She would have someone done like that.
She would have done
like a body modification doctor that will just do it on the side.
Could I say, like, if I say it's for cosmetic reasons, like I don't like the look of appendices, would they do it for me then?
No.
Maybe I should get some other sort of cosmetic surgery, like liposuction.
Do anything that, like, your appendix?
No.
Like, what is it doing? I swear
literally
it's just
nothing.
a little ticking clock.
I think it's thought to be like a filter, but it's not. It literally
it's just there to kill you. It's just there to one day, out of the blue, burst and kill you.
Yep.
So there's my phobia.
Yeah.
Brianna, do you have a phobia?
Yeah, I do. I sure do. And it makes a lot of things make a lot more sense. But I have, and it's so cliche, but like I have a huge fear of heights. I think this was for Nicole's, or it was Laura. Was that your bachelorette party in New York City?
Yes, that was mine.
And we went to the Empire State Building, and I had a complete and total panic attack meltdown.
Pure panic.
I lost it. Like, yeah, I have a really, really hard time with heights. And it's weird. Like, I'm on a medication now that like causes vertigo. So now, like, literally even stairs are hard for me. Like, if I'm at the top of the stairs and like Aaron touches me from behind, I like think I'm falling and get freaked out. So yeah, I don't like heights.
Like any heights. I thought I was always good with heights, but I remember like a bit ago we did a trip somewhere. I forget what it was that I was climbing to the top to. It was like something where like I remember it was a big spiral staircase. And there was something about that feeling, like going like a really, really tight, really, really tall spiral staircase, and then going outside, like I started like shaking. Like
Yes.
it was like, oh, I feel uneasy about where I am. Like bridges, like hiking, you know, I'm one of those people that will go to the edge and look down and stuff. But like something about like that very specific sensation got to me the other day. And so I think for me, it's like really specific heights gave me that like,
like your body takes over.
Yeah, like your body's like, no, you're in danger, like involuntarily shaking.
Yes.
Like, oh no, I swear my body is telling me not to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So listeners, if any of you have like a really weird phobia, we want you to share it with us.
Yeah.
Or any
Let
of our
us know.
same phobias. If you share the dread of your appendix one day killing you.
Yeah, because that's kind of weird. That's a little niche, that one.
Well, it comes from trauma.
Okay? Right. I mean, what doesn't?
It's your lived experience.
You know, what fucking doesn't?
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
man.
So, I mean, there's so much more we could talk about this movie, but we won't because we want to keep the spoilers.
Yes.
But maybe once the movie comes out and we release this, if any of our fans want to talk to us about specific deaths or things, like let us know, because it was an interesting one to watch, and I loved the surprise of it.
Yeah. Agreed.
And
so
if you are interested in watching it, it comes out April 12th.
Yes.
So April 12th, go check it out if you're interested in a big monster spider movie.
So I say we still give our rating so that the listeners can kind of know where we're at. So we don't do stars. We do sips here on Spooky Sips. So out of 5 sips, how many do you give this one?
I think for me, it's like a solid 2.5. Like it wasn't trying to be anything that it wasn't. I think it's the way it sets up. It's like, this is the movie that you're watching. It's a big spider that's in this apartment building loose, you know, like, you know what you're going into. I thought it was really fun, but you know, it was just like a fun classic movie. So I think just 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, because I think it would have been one where when I was a little bit younger, I probably would have liked it a little bit more. It would have spoken to me a little bit more. But yeah, it was fun. It was solid, not normally my style. So I can't give it that 3 that I say that's for a good movie, but it was not bad. 2.5. Yep.
Okay, so I'm differing than you guys.
Dissenter.
I should note that my like favorite movie was James and the Giant Peach, and this just gave me so many reminiscent vibes. I don't know, it hit my heart. But I'm gonna give it a 4.
Nice.
I like really liked this movie. Like it scared me, it grossed me out. I thought the effects were great. I thought the storylines were good, and yes, it was a little cheesy and overdone, but I thought it went really well with what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for me, it's a 4. I really liked it.
Nice.
It is one of those ones where after the more I've thought about it, like I've liked it more since, but my initial reaction was like, not the best, but not bad, like 2.5, maybe 2.75, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to recommend another episode because this is a special one that we're dropping.
This is a one-off.
This is a one-off. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at spookysips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.